All right, then it's my pleasure to introduce Anne Arundel County Executive Steuart Pittman.
Welcome. I'm glad so many people showed up. Today is the one-year anniversary of the inauguration of our administration. And if you're wondering what we've accomplished, you can go on social media and watch our 2-minute video in which I said a lot of things in 2 minutes as fast as I could talk. So if you want to laugh, you can go do that. But it's a really impressive list of accomplishments, and I have staff to credit for a lot of that, and I also have people in the community who have gotten engaged in just about every issue we've worked on and made things happen. The most recent being our forest conservation bill, which took a long time. Everybody was heard, I believe, and was a good step in the direction of what we're talking about today, which is to preserve the natural beauty and the environment of Anne Arundel County without shutting the county down to any kind of growth and development. So it's a difficult issue, the general development plan. When I was running and then when I was elected, this is, I think, why I was elected, because people in the county felt like growth had not been managed well, that at times it was reckless, and things were popping up in areas they didn't expect, new developments. I think what people were especially frustrated about was that there had been a planning process. There had been small area plans in 16 communities. There was a general development plan in 2009, and then after that, there was rezoning that happened, spot rezoning and comprehensive rezoning, that didn't really reflect the plan that the communities had been part of and that the planners had done. So I actually believe in planning. I think it's a tool that government has and the communities have. When you have large numbers of people who live in a confined space, and they have to have a voice in what gets built and how it's done. There's always a tension between the development community that wants to build and the communities that surround it, and that's the needle we have to thread. That's what we have to figure out how to do well. What we're talking about here is Plan 2040, and I'm 8th generation in the county on a piece of land that has been in the family that long, and I really do like to think long term. So to me, thinking of 2040, that's not that far away, but a lot can happen in 20 years. And we're a county that's responsible for 40% of the forest loss in the state of Maryland since 2010. We've had more land in erosion and sediment control plans because of development than any other county in the state in recent years. And so there's a lot of growth that's happening. There's a lot that's been going on. And we do have to take control of it if we want to keep the natural beauty of the place. So there are basic premises that I think that we need to adhere to. One is that planning is a legitimate purpose of county government. There are some who believe that planning is not. I've heard it described as legalized extortion, when you tell landowners that they can't do things that they may want to do with their land. But I think it's a legitimate function, and we have to accept that if we're going to move forward here. Another premise is that we have to be consistent in the way we apply our laws, and we have to enforce our laws. And we have to be consistent so that both the people in the business of developing can make plans, so there's certainty, and people can also know that when they move into a community that there is a plan and that it's going to be adhered to so that they have some certainty about their future. A third premise is that everybody gets heard. That includes community residents, that includes the development community, that includes environmental advocates. And a fourth is that we make a real effort to protect the nature that created us, the natural world, the environment, the air we breathe, the water that we drink, the land that absorbs the water when it rains. And I think most people in this county agree with all those basic premises. But at the same time, we have to make sure that what we have is available to all the people who live here. We have to do infrastructure in our plan so that we keep up with the growth. And when we do housing, we have to make sure that it's available to working people in the county as well as folks who are wealthy. So I'm hoping that our plan reflects those values, that we do workforce housing as well as all the infrastructure that we need. So there are basic principles of smart growth that I think are the answer for us. You may remember back in May, we had Smart Growth America come to Anne Arundel County and do a presentation to 240 people about how we can preserve the natural beauty while still growing by doing transit-oriented development and development where people can live and work and play in one area, getting cars off the roads. And so I think that's where we're heading with this. So I'm going to have Christina Pompa explain to you the timeline and the solution that we've come up with. But basically, I just want to say that I was very nervous about this because I didn't want our county to fail again. And I didn't want to not be able to deliver to the voters who said they wanted to have a voice. So what we've done is we slowed down the process on the general development plan a little bit. It will be coming. A draft will be out in the spring. The county council will be, there'll be a lot of public input through the summer, and the council will be considering it in the fall of 2020. During that time, there are going to be code revisions that are going to be necessary so that we don't rely on modifications to be able to get things through. We actually have consistent rules that apply to everybody. The Forest Conservation Bill was the beginning of that, as was our workforce housing bill. So there's going to be a lot of legislation forthcoming, and it's going to be a difficult process with the council. The next step after we get our GDP done will start in January of 2021, and that's when we'll start regional planning, which is the extension of small area planning we used to do. 9 regions, you can see the map over here. And each of these regions will be done by a Citizens Advisory Committee. And each region, when they do their plan, will do changes in land use rezoning rather than rezone the county all at once. So if you remember back in the 2009 General Development Plan, it was a new county council that came in afterwards, and they did the rezoning, saying that it wasn't their general development plan, and they didn't really adhere to it. And then even after that, after the comprehensive rezoning, a lot of spot rezoning took place. And the way the system worked was you go to your council member, you make friends, you give them your sob story about why your land needs to be upzoned, and they either go for it or they don't, and they vote on it. So we really believe that by doing regional planning, 3 regions at a time, and comp rezoning at the end of that it's going to reflect what the citizens wanted. It's going to take a long time. It's going to be 8-year cycles of planning. It's going to take us 8 years to get through all of the regional plans, and then we start all over again. So Christina will talk more about that. But my message is that I feel like we've finally figured out how to deliver for the citizens of Anne Arundel County on this issue. Time will tell how it goes, but this is a big step forward for the county. Thanks.
Thank you very much, County Executive Pittman. I'm very pleased to be here. I do bring regards from the Planning and Zoning Officer, Steve Ziegler, who is sick and doesn't have a voice, which doesn't work very well for a press conference. So I'm stepping in for him today. I just wanted to go over some of the details for the rollout of the General Development Plan, and then get into a little more detail on the 8-year planning cycle that we're envisioning for the county, which we would repeat over and over again. One thing, if you look back at the planning in Anne Arundel County, it's been different. Every time there's been a general development plan, the way the county has moved forward has been different, and we don't want to do that anymore. We really would like to embrace stakeholder engagement, which is a cornerstone of planning, and incorporate that all the time in how we do business. We reconstituted the Citizen Advisory Committee, which the chair is here and will talk after me, Elizabeth Rosberg. So we have a number of engaged citizens right now, and each regional plan will also have a Citizen Advisory Committee. So right now, the Citizen Advisory Committee and the staff of the Long Range Planning Section are working diligently in the development of the preliminary draft Plan 2040, And by March of 2020, we will have public forums where people can come in and review the draft development policy areas and draft land use maps. And once we receive that input, we will be working on preparing a final draft Plan 2040, which will go out to the public in May. Once we incorporate additional comment coming in from the public, we are going to be turning the plan over to the Planning Advisory Board for review and public hearing in August so that we're ready for introduction to the council in September of 2020, with hopeful adoption by December of that year. And then we will immediately start on 3 of the 9 region plans. We do have a region plan map here. It's still in draft format. It's not finalized yet. It will be finalized as part of Plan 2040. There are other planning things that we have to get done. Our water and sewer master plan will need updates to some of our town center plans like Odenton and Parole. And also our greenways master plan is on the table for an update. So with our staffing resources right now, by January of 2021, we are looking to start 3 of the region plans, but to have all of that planning work done, all of the region plans, and be restarting the comprehensive plan update within the 8-year planning cycle. Thank you.
Hi, thank you all for coming. My name is Elizabeth Rosberg, and I have been lucky enough to be chosen as the chair of the Citizens Advisory Committee for Plan 2040. This is truly a Citizens Advisory Committee. It is a citizen-run general development plan. We have over 21 members on the committee. All the areas are represented. Everything is online, so please check it out online. You're more than welcome to email me, plan2040 cacchair@gmail.com. Everything is public. Everything is available. We have several people who are here tonight from the CAC committee today, and thank you very much, because you all have volunteered a lot of time and you're representing your residents and your citizens, and we appreciate you stepping up and making a difference. And that's what this is all about, making a difference, making it better, making it so that everyone who is here wants to stay here and live here continually to Plan 2040. So I welcome input, and we want to make sure that the citizens and the residents are properly representative. All the meetings are public. We invite you to come out and see them. As she alluded to before, we'll be going back out with the draft forms to the public. And so we want to make sure this is really your plan, and we encourage you to get involved. Thanks.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. I'm Kimberly Brandt. I'm the director of Smart Growth Maryland, and I also co-chair with Ann Fligston, who's here. Wave, Ann. Thank you. The Anne Arundel Alliance for Livable Communities, which is a coalition of state and local organizations that advocate for smart growth here in Anne Arundel County. So I'm very excited that the county has embraced this approach to planning. It is a best practice that I'm starting to see embraced in other counties as well. Most recently in Frederick County, where they adopted a new general development plan called Livable Frederick earlier this year. And they did not go into comprehensive rezoning. What they're doing is the same approach that's been approached here. So they're working on area plans, and if land use changes are proposed as part of those plans, then there will be rezoning. So the first 2 plans that they've decided to work on, there's one that's a plan for the Sugarloaf Mountain area that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. So this is a rural area. It adjoins Montgomery County's Ag Reserve. So the priority for that plan is really protecting that resource and maintaining the rural character of that area. The other plan that they're working on is a plan for the 355-85 corridor. So this is an area that's developed. There's been a lot of investment in infrastructure, so public water, public sewer, an extensive road network, a lot of single-story buildings, surface parking lots, some vacancies. So what they're looking at in that area is how do we encourage mixed-use development in this area? How do we encourage infill development in this area? How do we make it more walkable, more livable? What do we need to do to make this more of a community, more of an attractive place for people to live or to operate a business? So two very different areas. The feedback from the communities is obviously very different priorities. So it's the same planning process, but the plans themselves will be very different. And I'm sure I don't need to draw your attention to the fact that Anne Arundel County is very similar. There are a lot of parallels. There's a large agricultural area in this county as well, and interest by many people in maintaining that. So the planning process can be, how do you do that? What are the steps that you need to take over the next 10 or 20 years to maintain that agricultural nature in that part of the county? But then you also have areas that are developed, established communities, and maybe the focus there will be how do you bring in infill development or redevelopment, or how do you improve those communities to enhance livability for current residents and future residents? So maybe it's improve walkability, bikeability, water access. All of these things will be part of the planning process. But the really important thing, as Elizabeth mentioned, is it's really a community-led process. You have a lot of community stakeholders involved, and that's important not just in getting a plan that reflects the community's priorities and the community's values, but it's important for implementation. One of the things that I always discuss with advocates is once you get your great plan adopted, you don't get to go home. In some ways, your work has just begun, and sometimes implementation is a heavier lift than plan adoption. So you have to stick around and you have to create that momentum to get the plan implemented, and that really needs to come from stakeholders who have real ownership of those plans. So again, I think I really commend the administration for moving the county in this direction. I think this is going to be great for Anne Arundel County communities. Thank you.